Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Unscripted and Unstoppable, the podcast where women 50 and older get to step into the wild terrain of who they are becoming. I'm your host, Laureen Quick, navigator, coach, and guide for women walking their next great chapter. Today, we are exploring a topic that is just near and dear to my heart. Um, it is possibly one of the most underestimated forces of transformation, reinvention, and that topic is travel.
Mhm.
Not the getaway kind, not the I need a break kind. I am talking about the kind of journey that becomes a threshold, a place where the woman you have been quietly becoming is handed a map to become exactly that and more. To walk this path with us, I have a fantastic guest today. Her name is Sandy Colling. She is founder of Just Travel with Sandy, and she is a woman who her work goes beyond itinerary planning. Sandy creates experiences that dissolve overwhelm, restore your confidence as a traveler, awaken your curiosity, and invite you into a deeper, more courageous version of who you are. To walk this path takes courage, and Sandy will help you develop that courage as well. Today, in our conversation, we are going to explore the identity a woman must lay down to travel, to truly transform herself. We're going to look at why comfort is not the destination, it's the doorway. Oh, sorry. Yes, yeah, I said that right. How unfamiliar landscapes reveal the truths that we have buried in ourselves, about ourselves, and what it takes to return home as someone beautiful and powerful and new. If you have been feeling the stirrings of a next chapter, if you have felt the nudge towards a journey, inner or outer, that asks more of you and gives back even more, you are in the right place. So take a breath, open your heart, and let's step into the journey that will change you. Sandy, my first question today is what was the moment when travel shifted from vacation to transformation for you? And when did you realize it was changing who you were, not just where you were?
So, first of all, thank you for the wonderful introduction. And I have to agree, there's no bigger transformation than through travel. And that's a great question, but there was no moment for me.
Okay.
So, I've been traveling all my life. I wrote a book on how travel shaped my life, and it basically started as a little girl. And as a little girl, my parents never staying home for the holidays and all the things, I actually was a little bit sad because all my friends had Nikolaus come. So I'm from Germany, or the Christkind. We call it the Christkind. We celebrate Christmas, Christmas Eve. And the moms made the cookies, and I didn't have any of that because we traveled. Every chance we could get
Mhm.
was through travel. So there was no moment because I was raised that way.
Mhm.
However, when I did clue in is when women came to me and had all these limiting beliefs around travel. I don't have the time. I can't get away. I don't speak the language. What if something gets lost? What if something happens? All the things. And that's when I realized travel is so much. And also me being away and the experiences that I had in other cultures and countries, it went so much deeper than checking things off the bucket list.
Mhm. And so you were born with this belief, right?
Yes.
And then it got clear as you work with other women who weren't born with this way of thinking, way of being in the world, that, oh my gosh, this is something not everybody thinks about, not everybody believes in, and not everybody uses as a way to transform themselves or change their lives.
And
Mhm.
it's really more here in America, to be honest with you, because being raised in Germany and, the proximities, and it's so much easier to get around, right, than being in America. Everything is further away. I feel like, and I'm talking international travel, but even traveling within the US,
Uh-huh.
because all the different cultures, even within the US, like I lived in Florida first, then New York, then California, then North Carolina. Even those cultures are all different, in my opinion, anyway. So, but really, when women asked me, oh my gosh, you've been to X amount of countries, and oh my gosh, how did you do that? It dawned on me that, wow, this isn't normal. Because for me, it was normal because that's how I was raised, right?
Yeah. You thought everybody did it this way. We
Hmm.
all, we all do that, right? We all think everyone else is thinking and responding to things the same way we do. And in fact, they're not at
Exactly.
all. A lot of
Exactly.
women see travel as a huge overwhelm. But what I would also say is beneath that overwhelm is a sense of who they are and what they're capable of. Is there parts of our identity that we need to lay down, that we need to let go in order to allow travel to become transformational for us?
Absolutely. I 100%. So a lot of women, I feel like, and women that have come to me, you know, they're the moms, they're the caretakers, the sandwich generation. They have the parents and the children, or the, college aged. They're doing the finances, they're potentially running businesses, or they have 9 to 5 jobs and they're the cooks and they're the chauffeurs and they do all the things that's their identity. They're literally, that's their identity. And oh my gosh, travel. And then a lot of women come to me too, is my spouses or my partners don't want to travel. So I can't travel. And I'm like, oh, because,
Really?
it really? Um, so yes, absolutely. There's all these stories in our heads, right? I always say, don't believe everything you think, right? All these stories that's holding women back or people back from travel because they just don't have the time. Also, budget. I hear a lot of time budget, but then they go to Disney 3 times a year, and I'm like, well, going to Epcot is not the same as going to Europe, and it's probably more expensive. So all these things in their heads that they identify with because they don't know what they don't know. Going on booking a trip and having 37 tabs open potentially and trying to navigate it all just becomes overwhelming. So they just shut everything down. So, absolutely.
So that's where someone like you comes in who can help simplify that process and support it with assistance, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And at the same time, I think the bigger piece to that really is it's not really about the complexities of travel. It's about the limiting beliefs that you're choosing to hold in your heart and cultivate through your excuses around what's stopping you from doing that. Yeah.
It, I would even go as far as saying there's a lot of fear for some people.
Oh,
So I actually helped a young lady. I mean, she just turned 50, so,
mhm.
younger. And I helped her book a trip from actually just California to New York and 50th birthday party and all the things. And in our conversation, she said that she had been invited to a friend to Spain. And the friend said, all you have to do is book your flight. You don't have to worry about anything else. You live with, stay with me. And she didn't go because she said, I didn't speak the language. I was worried. She said to me, I was worried that if there's because she had to do a layover because it wasn't like in a major city. The flight got delayed or something happened that I wouldn't be able to communicate.
Mm.
And she used the word fear. I had so much fear that I never took her up on it. And this was 5 years ago. And now the friend is back in the US. And I
Mm.
find that really sad. I really do, that the limiting beliefs, like you just mentioned, are holding women back from really potentially changing their identity by experiencing other cultures, other traditions, other languages, other smells, other foods, all the things. And the travel that goes along with and how great you feel once you've arrived at your destination on how you feel of I've actually done it, right? That
Exactly.
that's a transformation in itself.
I think it comes down to you have to begin to believe you're a competent woman, that
Mhm.
you can handle whatever happens, whatever comes your way, um, just with some deep breathing, and a well-planned itinerary. But it boils down to I can handle it, so I can do this. I can do this, and yeah, it's that's
Every problem has a solution, right?
absolutely. And look at what I've already accomplished in my life. I mean, my gosh, for me, I've given birth to two children. I mean, if I can do
Mhm.
that, I can pretty much do anything as far as I'm concerned. So I can navigate my way into and out of an airport. I can figure that out. So it's
Exactly.
that sense of competency. And the only way you build that, one little teeny step at a time, right?
Baby steps. Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. And what I tell women too is, if you don't have the confidence right now to go on your own, go with a buddy.
Or a
Like bring
group.
a buddy
Or a group.
or a group or
Yeah.
a group or go to a group, attach yourself to a group. And solo travel doesn't have to mean you're on your own, like you have a backpack, and that's not what it means, in my opinion, anyway. I mean, it can mean, but what it means is you're on your own. So there was a lady who I lead group tours as well as book travel. So I
Wow.
went to Ireland in July this year, and there was a lady who's 71 and she'd never been outside of America.
Wow.
And she came to Ireland with us, and it was a small group of 8 people. And so she was solo, but she wasn't solo because she was with the group.
Mhm.
And I usually quote unquote vet the people. Like I always have conversations to make sure that the group fits, right? Because we don't want one person can not ruin it, but if they don't fit in, it has to mesh energetically.
Sure.
And she had a blast. And she was so excited and proud and just so grateful to have taken that leap and joined us. And she said, "Now I'm ready to go somewhere where maybe Ireland, for the most part, they speak English. There's the Gaelic too, but they speak English." And
You
she
can get
says,
around.
"Now I'm actually right. I'm ready to go somewhere where I potentially don't speak the language, where I actually, you know, I know now, I trust it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be." And that to me, that's the journey to me. It's not, like I said, about checking things off the list. It's about, oh my gosh, look what I accomplished.
So let's talk more about how travel is a way to transform yourself. If you think about it, travel strips away our routines, the roles that we fulfill on a daily basis, familiar mirrors way of looking at ourselves. When you are witnessing that for other women in your group travels, the women that you work with, what tends to surface when they no longer have their usual identities to hide behind?
So, what oftentimes shows up is when they're out of their routine and when they're out of their day to day, a
Mhm.
lot of times what shows up, honestly, is initially, I've witnessed this several times now, is sadness. And sadness because they realized, oh my gosh, look what I've missed out on. Grief is a strong word, but oh wow, I could have done this all along. So I see that actually more than not. And that to me, and I always say, look, because they've come to me, better now than ever.
Yeah.
It's all good. But courage also then. They become courageous and they realize, oh my gosh, okay, I've gone through this layer of sadness. I don't want to say grief, but sad, even though that word has actually been presented to me, grief,
Mhm.
but sadness, and then the courage. And they're like, oh my gosh, look what I could do. And then they come back home and they realize, because coming home is sometimes even the hardest part. Because when you're way out of your routine, you're not necessarily checking your emails first or driving kids to school or navigating the household or what's for dinner and all this, and really being able to focus on themselves. So really getting to know themselves better too on a much deeper level. So a lot of times I feel like we don't really know who we are and what our purpose is, because for a lot of women, the purpose was to raise the kids, to do all the things. And now we're stripped from all that. What deep down is our purpose?
Mhm.
And finding that purpose, or actually realizing, oh my gosh, I don't have a purpose. That alone, um,
Wow.
that awareness alone can be a lot. So I feel like that is super powerful, and that can really shift one's identity and get to know yourself on a much deeper level.
Sounds to me like there's a lot of confidence, but then also there is, based on that confidence, a stepping into your own power, into
Hmm.
your own sense of who you are and what, by the way, do you want if for the rest of
Yep,
your life, right? In terms of
exactly.
more travel, more adventure, more fun, because travel is fun.
It is, and I have in my years of being on this planet experienced a lot of women who are my age whose children then they're empty nesters.
Mhm.
And even just being empty nesters, they're like, and now what? Because their whole identity was wrapped around their kids. Now, to be honest with you, never was that person. Like, I always had something else, travel, horses, all the things. And I could really never connect with that. But I saw it over and over that that really is the case. And when people then are out of their four walls, as we say in Germany, vier Wände, when they're out of their surroundings, their normal surroundings, it gives them time to breathe and realize there is so much more out there than the usual that we have at home.
There's a whole wide world out there waiting for us, right?
Absolutely. Literally.
As you have guided women on these journeys that have become turning points for them, can you share with us maybe a story about a client who wasn't just inspired, but who was fundamentally changed by her travel experience?
So I mentioned briefly the lady that came to Ireland with me the first time, leaving the United States for the first time at 71. But there was another young girl. This is before I, focused on 50 and up. But there was a young lady in her 30s who she actually came to Germany with me and she came to Ireland with me. And very dedicated to her work at home, very driven, very just tunnel visioned, I guess is the word, at home in her surroundings. And she came to Germany with me first and then to Ireland. Both were equestrian focused theme trips. And that's the only reason she came, because they were equestrian, because she's a professional trainer and saddle fitter and all the things. But being away from her day to day life and exploring the world, because she hadn't traveled much, she realized that, and she's from an area that's in the South. It's kind of like suppressed and I don't know how to put it, but just not as worldly, I guess. And then coming to Germany, she realized what a huge world is out there. And she said to me, I will go on every single trip that you do because I realize there is so much out in the world. And I kind of slept. I've been asleep because I've just been in my little area and just doing the one thing. And yes, I love what I do, but it can also lead to burnout and getting away and realizing there's a bigger world out there and there's cultures and different foods and different all the things. She said it really truly changed my life is what she told me. And her testimony is actually on my website too, because she just realized, wow. And so I love that it's a younger person that got to experience this because she has so much more life, potentially so much more life ahead of her. And then she took that leap of faith and did that.
And but we don't have to be young to have that experience either. I'm
Absolutely not.
When I turned 60, I made a decision to stop talking about the things I'd always said I was going to do someday and start doing them. The first thing I did was book a trip with my youngest daughter to Peru, and we went on a tour of Machu Picchu. And I would say, as I listened to you talk, I realized that was truly transformational for me, that trip, because I had enjoyed travel when I was younger as a single woman, but pretty much that had stopped unless we were doing family vacations. Once I started a family, and it was a completely different experience. And I was doing all the work on those trips. It wasn't fun necessarily. It was more about giving my children that experience. So when I did that trip to Peru with my adult daughter, it was about me traveling and experiencing the world again. And it shook me up, woke me up, made me say, "Oh yes, I'm doing more of this." And I have been doing more of that ever since. So you don't have to be 30 something or 40 something to have that moment. It can happen anytime. Just just you got to say yes, right? Got to say
Well,
yes.
the best
Opportunity.
And the best example is my 71-year-old that came to Ireland with me who had never been out of America. It doesn't matter. Age is just a number. I mean, I just talked to a friend of mine whose mom is 86 and they were inquiring about a trip, whatever. And, and she's done some traveling, but she says, there's so much more I need to see in the world. And age is, no, it's definitely not that. I just like when, like my children, so because I was raised traveling, so I kind of raised my kids traveling. And my daughter spent her 11th grade in London, her first year of university in Paris. My son went to Shanghai for a year. So starting young is a gift,
Mhm.
but you can start traveling 50, 60, 70, 80. Hey, there, who cares?
Let's go.
Just go. Just go.
Well,
I agree.
let's talk a little bit about the idea of comfort and your comfort zone. Do you think it is possible to transform yourself if you stay in your comfort zone, or do we to transform our lives to become our potential and shift and change? Do we really need to step out of that comfort zone to experience ourselves awakening and becoming more alive?
That's a great question. We always hear growth begins outside of the comfort zone, right? But what is that? Like, what does that even mean, right? What does that even mean? It's the comfort zone. Like, I believe that even a baby step, like you don't have to be terrified to transform. You don't have to do like these big, huge leaps. Like, if you've never gone to dinner on your own, which I've heard, then go to a local or the next town, whatever, and go to dinner on your own. Like it doesn't have to be, I've never been out of the country and now I'm going to China or to India or whatever, or it's literally totally different. So, comfort zone, it shows up in small steps, right? Baby steps.
Mhm.
Do I believe if we don't expand our capacities at all, we potentially can stay stuck, but it doesn't have to be this grand, terrifying thing. Try a food you've never had, navigate a new town, make a decision without asking for permission, which a lot of women do, and just follow your own right gut feeling. And so I believe it's really those micro steps, those baby steps that lead to the transformation. And in the end, they can be big, but not to begin with.
I think that's an excellent a way to think because, it's sort of like, oh, well, all right, so if I'm going to transform myself, I'm going to go into the middle of Africa and hike a 50-mile hike and, probably never be seen again, or whatever. And I'm terrified, right? But okay, so let's just break that down into some smaller steps that then, like the woman who went to Ireland and left the
Hmm.
for the first time, you can say, next time I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And next
Hmm.
time I'll make it a little bit bigger or a little bit different. So you
Hmm.
can increase those challenges. But I think also we have to be a little comfortable, or we're so terrified we can't actually experience anything but terror and the desire to escape as soon as possible.
And
So,
we don't enjoy, right? Exactly. And it's supposed to be joyous.
yeah.
So the baby steps then give you that sense of accomplishment, that sense of confidence. They're like, okay, I did this. Let's see if I can do this. And then maybe you will go to Africa backpacking. Who knows,
Never,
right?
like me, never say never. So, what role do you think intentionality plays in choosing a destination or a type of style of traffic of travel? Um, what do you need to set an intention for your transformation, or do you just randomly hope something happens?
So, with travel, I believe there is a certain amount of intentionality that should happen, meaning that you're a hiker.
Uh-huh.
So you intentionally, would like to book travel that includes hiking. But if somebody is a surfer but goes on a hiking trip and hates hiking,
Right.
that's not going to work. So I do believe that intentionality is, to a degree, figure out what it is you want. Do you want adventure? Do you want just relaxation? Do you want culture? Based on that, then, you know, pick potentially a destination. Like somebody, for example, who loves culture, I wouldn't necessarily send ziplining to Costa Rica, right? So I do believe there is some intentionality, but not to the degree that it has to be rigid. So for example, when I do my travel advising, I ask, and also when I have my group trips, I'm very clear on what the trip looks like.
Mhm.
Because if somebody is coming to, and I'm just going to use my equestrian trip, who does not like horses or whatever, then that trip wouldn't be a fit, right? So
Right.
definitely, are you seeking rest? Are you seeking inspiration? Are you seeking connection? If you want connection, go on a group trip. If you really just want rest and want to be on your own, find somewhere where you can go to the beach and maybe. So yes, there is some intentionality that is important, but it shouldn't be rigid.
I think that's great advice as well. But I think you'll have a better trip if you have some direction, right?
Exactly.
And that you're able to look at potential trip opportunities based on what your interests are, versus, oh, I'm just throwing myself into this and don't know what's going to happen. But we'll just,
Exactly. Exactly.
plus, of course, that's
Yep.
kind of an adventure you want to experience, but that's pretty rare, I would think. So
Oh,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
being intentional about what you want from a trip is an important part of that process. All right, let's talk about the return home. So when a woman comes back after a trip that, has changed her, she often will find or feel like her old life just doesn't fit anymore. She feels a little disconnected. Um, do you or how can you help or how can she help herself integrate more back into her regular life, but still keep that transformation, that change that she experienced?
So I always feel, even when I travel, honestly,
Mhm.
even when I'm going to different places, I always come back a little changed, a little different, a new version of myself, maybe Sandy 2.0 and 2.1 and 2.2, not necessarily better, just changed, right? And then life happens and we go into the thing. So I, I really, what I encourage women to do is journal. Like journal about your experiences, how you feel different, potentially why you feel different, and stop apologizing. Because so many women then, oh my gosh, I just got back, and they throw themselves in, and you don't want all those memories to fade. I mean, you have the pictures, but it's not about the selfies, right? It's how you changed inside.
Exactly.
So I really believe that maybe you coming back and planning on phone free mornings, or just changing a little bit something that you didn't do before. And for me, meditation is huge.
Mhm.
But it's not everybody's cup of tea. So the lady actually that was in Ireland, she came back and she said, I've made it my not ritual, but I've made it my custom to have an Irish, because she fell in love with Irish breakfast tea. She wasn't a tea drinker before, to have a cup of Irish tea in the mornings. So just changing a little bit, changing a little tweak, and not going back full fledged into that wearing 17 hats, right? But just really taking time for yourself. And again, for me, journaling, meditation is a beautiful thing. And start planning. Like I'm actually doing a vision board, a travel vision board workshop in January because now that you've experienced this trip, what else is possible? Where would I like to go? What would I like to see? Not letting go of how you felt from coming home, from being away, the coming home that everything is forgotten. It's so easy to fall back into those old traps, right?
It really is. I call it amnesia. It's like I have a major shift in my
Yeah.
psyche, my ability to see the world and understand myself. And then a week later, I'm like, what was that? I remember it was like really profound. What was that? And what I have learned is like what you just said, you have to find a way to record it so you can go back and remember it.
Yep.
And you can put that into your life in some kind of ritual routine that helps you remember it until it becomes ingrained in your head. Because we
Exactly.
do have this little thing that happens to us. I think it's to try to get us back to where we were. Like change is not good, right? So the psyche says, "Oh, we're just going to let you forget all about that," and you don't want to forget all about that. You were transformed. You are different, and you want to embrace and hold on to that. But you have to take some kind of action to make that happen. So the journaling is
It's that
a great idea.
the protective mechanism, right? It's like the psyche wants to keep you, safe and comfortable and whatever. And falling. And I mean, they say it takes 21 days, which I don't believe that. I think it takes like 90 days to build a habit.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the whole 21-day thing, but just and really, I mean, for me, I really truly believe that journaling and meditation and visualizing. I was in Ireland, I was at the beach. I mean, we rode on the most gorgeous beach in Castle Gregory, like completely off the beaten track. Probably one of the most beautiful beaches you've ever seen. Rode or walked, whatever people want to do, and just visualizing that and hearing the water. I mean, there's so much that you can do, and it brings us back there.
It does. And I love also the idea, like I was thinking, okay, well, next trip I have on the plane coming home, I'm going to ask myself, here's your question, Laureen. How has this trip changed you? And what are you going to do about it?
I love that.
Right. And then I always give myself at least one day, if not 2 days, of what I call reentry time, where I don't immediately go back to a full schedule. I spend those
Mhm.
days unpacking, but also it's time for me to rest and think about what I experienced. And of course, I always want to
Mhm.
start planning the next trip as soon as I so we're
Of course.
fine. We can do it. Yeah. Woohoo. I love your advice. So fabulous. All right. So, my last question for today really is, but we're going to have you come back because this is such an amazing topic. For women who are listening, who have in their heart that longing for a journey that marks the beginning of her next chapter, and a true initiation into travel, what should she look for? What should she choose or invite into that experience?
So I would go as far as say, what part of me do I potentially want to transform? And what part of me is ready to wake up? If you're absolutely exhausted, choose something slow. If you're stuck, choose a pace that maybe gives you some courage, that nudges your courage. If you want connection, if you're seeking connection, if you feel isolated, choose a group tour. So, really ask yourself those deeper questions. Okay, I'm ready to make a shift. I'm ready to transform. It kind of ties into that intentionality question, right? Ask yourself those deeper questions. What do I really want? And how do I really want to wake up and change? And then look on the calendar, pick a date. Pick a date. It doesn't matter if you're going from New York to New Jersey or New York to China or to whatever, but pick a date. Put it in your calendar. And then, feel how you want to ask yourself how you want to feel, what it is that you want to get out. And then you either, if you're confident or you feel comfortable, book it yourself or reach out to a travel advisor or find a group tour and making it set the intention that you will go. And a lot of times it's maybe asking a buddy if you're scared, asking a buddy, or like we mentioned, the group tours. But ask yourself what, why, how, put it in the calendar. Like a lot of times when it's in the calendar time, make it real. Because a lot of times we say, okay, I really want to, and maybe, and then you start researching, and then the 37 tabs are open, and then you're, oh my God, and you're overwhelmed. Close it. Don't even do that. If you're not comfortable planning the trip yourself, reach out to a travel advisor. That's the biggest piece of advice I can give you because they will help you. They will also ask you the deeper questions of, what it is even that you want. And then put it in your calendar and make it happen.
Happen. Yeah. Stop talking about it and make it happen. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
this has been a beautiful conversation. Sandy, thank you so much for reminding all of us that travel is not about distance, it's about awakening. It's about stepping into places that ask us to loosen our grip on who we've been so that we can become who
Mhm.
we're becoming. If today's conversation has stirred in you all, my listeners, my viewers, a longing, a curiosity, a spark, I encourage you to stay connected with Sandy. Her links are going to be are in the show notes, as well as a special gift that she's leaving all of you listening to this podcast today or viewing it on YouTube. Sandy's work, her trips, her way of guiding women into powerful life altering experiences is truly extraordinary. And I would encourage you to check her out. You can also find her at justtravelwithsandy.com and explore the journeys that she's currently scheduled for 2026 and beyond. And my friends, if this episode made you think I'm ready for my next chapter, but I don't know where to even begin that, I would love to support you. So if you are interested, you are invited to book a Connect and Elevate call with me. It's a 45-minute free session where we just talk about you and what's going on in your life and how I might be able to help you as a coach with some guidance and some navigation tools. You have been so wonderful as an audience, and I thank you for showing up this time and for all our past episodes and future ones to come. If you have found this episode to be important, significant, empowering, inspiring, please like, comment, share with us how that was the case. And also, please feel free to invite your friends to listen or to view and watch as well. You are definitely a woman on her way to becoming unstoppable. So thank you for listening, and I hope to see you next time. And again, Sandy, thank you so much for all your wisdom, advice, and guidance today. It's been amazing.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Enjoy.